Oh my god, yes!
We're just uncovering crazier and crazier details by this figure.
Hello, class. Welcome to the Arkham Academy once again. My name is Brian Chambers Wraith, and today we are going to be focus on me, please. Thank you. We are going to be tackling Know Thyself. This is the long arcing part of the series where we talk about characters specifically. And this first episode is episode 101. You know, get the 101, the basics, the universal mechanics and stuff like that. And today's 101 class is going to be on the main man, Batman, and his clone character, Azrael. Now, these two are clones in the sense of they fight the same and they have the same gadgets in combat. But their challenges, how they approach Predator challenges in particular, is very different. And Azrael doesn't even have half of the gadgets that Batman does. So in this episode, we're going to use them as kind of an introductory course into general mechanics in common gadgets like the Batclaw or the Batarangs, introducing certain concepts that are common among most of the characters of the cast, and then we will split off and talk about the more specialized members of the cast, like Nightwing, Harley Quinn, Batgirl, and the like. I was wondering how long it would take for him to leave. I'm surprised that he actually stuck around for that long. So, don't forget to be awesome, my friends. If Oracle's online, great. Let's get started.
Of course, it makes sense to start with the main man himself, Batman. This guy is the main character that you play as in this game, and as Oracle's telemetry will show you, he is no joke. He is terrifyingly large, powerfully strong, and packs many different gadgets that we will be taking a look at throughout this game, so that we can study exactly how the Batman operates. He is the template, the gold standard, the measure by which everybody else is compared. And this is actually a double feature, because the protector for the Order of Saint Dumas is Azrael. And he is a playable character in this game. However, he is essentially a clone of Batman in basically every practical way you could think of in combat challenges, except for his tassels instead of the cape, which he is still somehow able to glide from. This guy and Batman are so similar that I'm, for the most part, able to reference them interchangeably, except for a few key things. We're going to start with Batman and take a look at what he can do in a combat situation. And because that is what Azrael specializes in terms of some of the medals that you get for Predator challenges, we will take him for an overall Predator tour and then revisit Batman in order to study the unique things that Batman can do. So first, let's get ourselves in a fight, shall we? First, we're going to take a look at overall Batman capabilities. He can, universally, people can slide into opponents to start a fight, which is something I highly recommend because you'll always get a ×2, and it's really the only time in a single combo you'll get a slide, so you might as well make it work. Strikes and counters are key, especially when you can counter multiple enemies at once. Stuns leave them wide open for things like beatdowns, and the Ultra Stun will allow Batman to put enemies on the ground for long enough to set up a ground takedown, which is one of your biggest point multipliers. But we haven't touched gadgets yet. That's something we'll have to fix now. The first order of business is the Remote Electric Charge. This can stun enemies and is really good against brutes because it sends them staggering back. Then we have the Batclaw, which pulls enemies in. With smaller enemies, you can slam them, or you can pull brutes in order to knock down a group of enemies. Then you have the quick-fire explosive gel, which will stun smaller enemies and stagger brutes. You can also use quick-fire freeze blast in order to freeze enemies, including brutes. Then you have Batarangs, which can knock down up to 3 enemies at once. Now, you'll notice that my bar is full, and the freeze doesn't last forever. But we can do something really fun. We can spend the bar in order to seriously buff the gadget's power and get new uses out of them. We will be exploring those next. When fully charged, the free flow focus allows for multiple benefits. For instance, the fully buffed remote electric charge stuns multiple enemies. The enhanced quick-fire explosive gel immediately explodes, knocking enemies down and blinding several enemies. This can even knock enemies out for a 100 point boost. You can also quick-fire the Batarangs, causing them to explode, knocking multiple enemies down and leaving multiple enemies wide open. I actually forgot to talk about the aerial attack. You won't see this one too often, but it's really good for clearing space, and if you ultra stun into an aerial juggle, it can knock down multiple enemies. And as you saw, you can use the quick-fire back claw fully maxed in order to instantly take out an enemy. And I do mean instantly take out an enemy. Oh, and those brutes with the extendable blades, you can do blade takedowns on them too. You can even use the quick-fire back claw to instantly take down the bigger brutes. Really handy if you just want to get them dealt with. And the shockwave can stun enemies. And finally, oops. You can also enhance the freeze blast, instantly freezing one enemy and causing multiple enemies to get frozen in a staggered formation. Evades, of course, as you saw me jumping around, are very useful indeed. And you can counter multiple enemies, and we haven't even talked about the throw counter yet, which is something I will be demonstrating now. The throw counter is available to Batman, Azrael, and Batgirl, and allows the opponents to knock down enemies, really hurt them, and clear some space, as you can see there. Ooh, but you gotta be careful about that. I believe that is about it for primary skills. Oh wait, we gotta talk about the beatdown. If you stun an opponent, you can, well, beat them down. This is especially good against brutes, and it gives you a pretty consistent point system, a pretty consistent amount of points. You'll want to be using beatdowns a lot in your combat challenges because this is a consistent way to really rack up the combo counter and points. Like I said too, you can beat down brutes. Also, if you have the Batarangs and you see a charger, you can use the Batarangs to take out the enemy as well. The instant combo takedown is exactly what it sounds like. An instant takedown that requires the bar to use. It's a standard issue technique that all playable characters have. Everybody has this one, so make use of it. I believe... Oh, that's right. We need to talk about the unique combo things that Batman is capable of. He can disarm and destroy weapons. This is an ability he shares with Azrael and Batgirl, and that's it. It's an incredibly useful technique because it clears weapons. Really powerful ones too, like shields and the like, allowing you to get some free space. Batman, Robin, and Azrael are capable of stealing weapons, which are unblockable, as you can see, and hit really hard. You even get a faster ground takedown if you have a weapon in hand. Really handy for those tight situations. You're not going to weaponize too much, though, if you're aiming for high scores, but if you're just looking to get the job done, it never hurts to steal an enemy's weapon. There we go. Ground takedowns are really good. Notice that you can counter most brute attacks, but you don't actually hit them directly. It's more like you slow them down. And the final special combo system that is unique to Batman and Azrael is the Multi-Takedown. Take down every enemy on the ground with one fell swoop. Not a bad set of skills for Batman and Azrael to have. Naturally, they have the most to work with, so they're going to take the most amount of time to get familiar. But if you played the story mode of Arkham Knight, which I presume you have because you need to get all the upgrades necessary to really maximize your point count, then you should be familiar with most of these and not be worried too much about having to learn Batman and Azrael. But if you're picking up somebody else's save for the first time, that's why I'm quickly overviewing these characters. Batman and Azrael are both incredible to use. Both Azrael can match Batman move for move in combat situations. But Azrael is actually missing two gadgets that Batman has access to. However, well, technically three, I think, but we'll cover that when we get there. But it pays to note that you can think of Azrael as almost a utilitarian Batman. He has everything he needs. He doesn't have some of the extra fluff, though. So we'll cover the basic tools that each opponent, that both of these characters have, by covering what Azrael has. After all, Azrael doesn't have anything unique about him, except for the fact that he's missing some things here or there. For all intents and purposes, he's boiled down Batman. The Batarang. This is a normal projectile that you can use to stun opponents, knock them down, and you can even use them to distract. For instance, notice that I am targeting this medic with the orange diamond. But if I aim a little bit over here, the reticules over his head will go off, making him hear that and then look around. And allows you to potentially lure him into a certain position. If you throw 3 Batarangs near somebody, they'll know exactly where it's coming from. So you can use this in a situation where you need to lure somebody to somewhere specific, and it's one last enemy just for a quick takedown, lure him in, take him out, that sort of thing. There is an alternate function to the Batarangs too. You can multi-Batarang. And this allows you to pull out up to 3 Batarangs in order to knock down up to 3 enemies. However, the knockdown is shorter than one normal Batarang. The Freeze Blast are the little freeze grenades that allows an enemy to be frozen in place for an extended period of time. You can throw it down as a mine, so that when somebody steps on it, it will explode and freeze them. You can also... You can also unleash a freeze cluster mine, which will freeze multiple enemies in one position. And freeze them by their feet. And of course, after enough time, the enemies will try and free their friends. And it's comical, but, you know, that thing is freezing. There you go. Next up, we are going to take a look at the smoke pellet. This is one of those weapons that you usually only get once in a Predator challenge, but there are some Predator challenges where it actually regenerates if it's an outside Predator challenge mostly. It stuns enemies as one might expect, allowing you to set up multiple takedowns. And get away from hairy situations. But as you can see, it recharges, but only on certain challenges. On most challenges, it's one and done, so be careful with this one. The remote electric charge is useful for multiple reasons. Any map that has electromagnets can be used by the remote electric charge to rip guns out of enemy hands, and then destroy the magnet. You can also use this particular technique to shock enemies. Allowing you to distract enemies. Now, let's move on to one of my we're going to move on to the back claw, which, as you can imagine, is used mostly for disarming enemies and potentially pulling them off ledges. But the issue is most maps don't let you do that anymore. There's only a handful of maps that let you pull enemies off of ledges. But if you're quick on the draw and catch somebody on a ladder with the back claw, it still causes them to fall. Now let's do this challenge for real, because doing it for real allows me to cover the next lovely piece of tech in two parts at once. The explosive gel and the disruptor, one of my personal favorites. Unfortunately, the disruptor is not a terribly common thing. I believe only Batman and Azrael have access to this weapon. This allows these two characters to sabotage a variety of enemy weapons and equipment. For instance, you can disrupt the medic's backpacks, so when they try and revive somebody, they get knocked out. You can also jam weapons. Green means that it won't fire and the enemy will drop it. Red, if I can actually hit it, there we go, will cause the weapon to actually explode and knock the victim out when he tries to fire. You can disrupt any number of things. Optical camouflage in order to make those enemies visible. You can permanently shut down jammers while also stunning all enemies in the map by hitting a detective mode jammer. You can also cause detective mode detectors to get knocked out by their own equipment if they detect you. You can even use this to disrupt drones, so that when the drone tries to attack you, it should actually knock out the opponent. I'm actually going to double check this on another map just to be sure. I'm sure Oracle's going to be yelling at me if I'm wrong, but you get the idea. Next is the explosive gel. This has been around since Arkham Asylum and is a favorite of many. This allows you to set up mine traps so that when enemies step on it, it explodes and knocks them out. You can use it to set up wall takedowns and that sort of thing. One thing to keep in mind, however, is if enemies are spooked and they see your explosive gel, they can shoot the explosive gel in Arkham Knight and thus disable it. But that won't necessarily be a problem. See how that guy tried to shoot me and it didn't work? Because he got knocked out? Oof. Okay, well, there goes my flawless. But I'm not too worried. I'm just gonna take these guys out. I could take out these medics, but I'm actually going to let them, quote-unquote, live, so that you can see their sabotaged gear go to work. For me, I mean.
I'm gonna get this guy back on his feet. He needs to wake up.
Oh, I forgot to sabotage him. Okay, we'll try that again. Also, medics lovingly will show up in white, meaning that you can quite easily spot a medic, fortunately. And there's no camo medics. They don't tend to combine. So, let's watch. Let's watch what happens when this guy tries to revive his gear. See you later. No revivals for you. Now I wonder. I was gonna try.
I need cover. Can you hear me?
And lights out.
Simulation complete.
Now, why don't we take a look at a couple of uses for the disruptor that I need double checking, and take a look at the 2 unique gadgets for Batman. Then we will wrap this up with a little experiment. Now, we talked about in the first episode about archetypes, the kinds of unique hacking skills and voice synthesizer techniques that you can use in order to set yourself apart from other characters. Robin and Batgirl and Batman having access to the hacking device, and Batman and Nightwing having access to the voice synthesizer and the remote hacking device. So, let's talk about them in a little more detail, since we did do a pretty extensive breakdown. The remote hack... Oh, there are 4. There are 4 gadgets here that are quasi-unique. The remote hacking device allows you to hack things like doors and drones and gadgets and the like, and we can actually take a look and see examples of it getting the job done. Boom, we've blinded the drone. Now we can actually set up our sneaky inside without too much trouble. Next is the voice synthesizer, which allows you to issue orders to enemies wearing headsets, which is basically everybody. This is an evolution of the sonic Batarang, basically. Instead of sending one enemy to one location with the sonic Batarang interfering with a heartbeat monitor, you can pick a particular target, set up a particular location, and there you go. Now, before I get too carried away, I'm going to set up the jamming of the detective mode jammer, so that you can see what I mean. See how it stuns everybody? This can allow you to get away, and of course, permanently disrupting the jammer is a really good way to get access to things. Okay, let me see. If I jam the drone, device will short circuit, incapacitating controller, and destroying the drone if it detects an intruder. So just for demonstration purposes, boom. So that's what that's used for. But what if you didn't want to do that? What if you instead wanted to take out multiple enemies? Well, fortunately, the remote hacking device is the tool for you. This one I don't believe requires an upgrade either. Boom, we blind the drone, so now he can't see us. And I'm just gonna sit here, because I don't think he should be able to see me if I'm back here. Nope, we're good. So I'm gonna set this particular takedown up again, but I'm not even going to disrupt the jammer, because instead,
I'm coming.
I can download the codes. This angle is a little awkward, but but theoretically you should have been able to see that indeed we managed to get the drone codes. Okay, nobody. Oh, damn it! This guy's coming. Hold on. Oh, multiple guys are coming. I was not expecting that.
Over here! He'll get away!
Oh, I missed! Damn it! Apologies for this, by the way. It is a slight pain in the buttocks, but it's all for demonstration's sake.
Simulation activated.
So I'm gonna go grab those codes and just utilize them in order to take out the enemies coming next. I think the way to do that will be after a fear takedown, I just drop the smoke pellet. I understand that I'm basically planning this as I go. There's no script, but the best way to learn is to do, so...
Check on the north balcony. No problem.
Okay. There we go. Now you can see a little bit better. I'm just going to do a smoke pellet takedown thingy. There we go. And besides, I have to wait for the drone to be unblinded anyway.
Best is using smoke. Oh, you shaky little.
And now,
He's copying my.
it only took out the one, but you can see if you looked really closely there, you could have actually seen a red line aiming for the guy down here, which could have hit him and taken him out too. You can take out up to 3 enemies with the drone takedown, including the drone controller itself. But any more than 3 and the poor bastard's out on his own and his friends are yelling at him. Not that I, for one, am complaining. Let's very quickly take a look at the last couple of gadgets that we have not been able to use quite yet. The remote control Batarang and the line launcher. As far as I'm aware, the line launcher is exclusive to Batman and Batgirl, so expect to see those guys use it quite a bit. The line launcher allows you to traverse horizontal areas at speed, create a perch. It's the line launcher. You're not going to use it too terribly often, but it is something you can use for zipping around, for moving around, setting up tight ropes for a tightrope takedown, that sort of thing. One other thing you can do is if you're gliding and hold down L3, you can now perch via the line launcher this way. And finally, let's talk about the remote control Batarang. It's the remote control Batarang. You can speed it up, slow it down, turn it around, hit an enemy, send them flying, and even play catch. One way you can use this is by actually scouting, if you're so inclined. So, for instance, let's say you want to break into this room and take a look. As long as it's not out of range of the remote control Batarang, then you can go in and have a look around. There's our drone guy, or there's our drone, there's a couple of the bad guys, there's the drone guy, medic, you get the idea. I wouldn't use the remote control Batarang for this particular purpose too often, but if you're really confused about how you're supposed to be scouting out for one particular challenge I can immediately think of, then this might be the way to do it. Now let's move on to a couple of combat applications for an experiment. The experiment goes thusly. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think that... I'm actually pretty sure that you can't disrupt the medics and then have the medics knock themselves out when they try to electrify a bad guy. You usually don't get an opportunity to use the... disruptor in a combat situation, but for the purposes of this, and to be consistent, let's take a look.
Gonna make sure you never walk again.
Yes! Okay, it works! Alright, that's really good to know. Oops. Oh, we're gonna have to talk about specific challenges soon. That is really good to know, actually. Not necessarily for combat situations per se, for combat challenges, but it's really good to know maybe for a story mode run, if you're not entirely sure, or if you've straight up forgotten, like I guess I did. So the disruptor can do a really cool thing. I like that. Hopefully this helps inform your opinion of the Azrael Batman duo. Next time, we're going to be taking a look at the original Boy Wonder, Nightwing. Don't forget to be awesome, my friends. I'll see you guys on the other side. And if you have anything specific you want me to cover, whether that is duo challenges, you're having trouble with a specific combat or predator challenge, or you just want me to ask, or if you just want to ask me what my favorite costume is in Arkham Knight, don't be afraid to ask. It never hurts to. I'll see you guys on the other side. Ta-ra for now.